Alright, this video is going to be kind of a continuation of some of our previous ones. It's control surfaces. You can find out all about that in Chapter 6 of the FAQ. And the reason why it's kind of a continuation is because we get to talk about air molecules again. Yay, yes! Alright, so here's our very sophisticated flight training tool right here. And as you can see, it looks kind of like an airplane. Alright, so what are control surfaces? Those are the surfaces on the airplane which control the way the airplane flies. So the primary control surfaces are going to be the ailerons, right here, the elevator, sometimes it's called a stabilator depending on the plane you're in, but usually it's an elevator, and then your rudder. Those are the primary surfaces. There are some other controlling surfaces, such as flaps, trim tabs, things like that, but we don't need to get into that right now. We might talk about flaps a little bit because it's kind of important with the airfoil concept. But let's just go on here. So let's first talk about the ailerons. Those ones are my favorite. They tend to be a little more complicated, but this is what is going to go on and happen. These further things here are the ailerons. The ones on the inside here, those are going to be the flaps. So right here, you can see these will bend up or down depending on what direction you're turning, okay? So we have these little things that turn. So what's happening here? You're sitting in the cockpit, okay? And you have your yoke in your hand, and you decide to turn your yoke to the left because you want your plane to bank to the left. Okay, so what exactly is going to happen when you do that? So this is my left. If you're looking at it, it might look right or backwards. But so let's look over here. So you're in this airplane. You want to bank left. Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to have your air molecules flying over your wings, just as we talked about. Air molecules are hanging out here. Your plane is going to come and attack them, and the top ones are going to separate a little bit, producing lift. The bottom ones are going to produce a high pressure system, producing lift. You're flying through the air, and the next thing you know, you decide to bank left. So this aileron is going to shoot up. Okay, so you notice you're turning left, and your left aileron goes up. You're turning left, and your right aileron goes down. So let's think about what's happening here. Air hits this aileron. Well, it's no longer a low pressure system here. The air hits it. The way I like to envision it is your air molecules just hit this thing and knocked it down. Okay, what's really happening is you now have more pressure here. The air molecules are hitting it. It's creating more pressure. But then let's look underneath here. What's going on underneath? The air comes up, hits it, high pressure system. Air comes down here, you have this little opening here. You're now going to have a low pressure system underneath this aileron and a high pressure system on top of that aileron. Well, what's going to happen with that high pressure and this low pressure? It's going to do this. Now, so what's happening on this side, right? So this one now has gone down, okay? We have this one that's gone down, same time. Air coming over here, it's already a low pressure system. It's an extra low pressure system here. The air molecules are like floating all the way over here. There's like nothing here. Down here, the air molecules are going to hit this aileron at the bottom. They're going to congregate here and create more and more pressure. So what's going to happen then? This wing is going to want to go up. So as you can see, high pressure on top, low pressure on bottom. Wind hits the top, knocks the wing down. High pressure on top presses the wing down. Low pressure on bottom sucks the wing down. Opposite is happening on the other side here. High pressure system on top sucks the wing up. Low pressure on bottom, or high pressure on bottom, sorry, hits this aileron here, pushes the wing up. Another way I like to think of it is the air comes and presses into this aileron and says, I'm going to knock you this way. So when you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, I'm flying, I'm about to do this bank to the right, you're turning your aileron to the right. Now, you're turning your yoke to the right. So you're thinking, okay, you're doing your run-up or your pre-flight. It's maybe one of your first flights, you're a student pilot. You're like, okay, I need to check to make sure all of my control surfaces are correct. Maybe the mechanic just gave you the plane back, they just did an inspection, they hooked up everything, and now it's wrong, and you're gonna try to bank right, but really you're going left. It's happened before. Scary. Okay, so you turn your yoke to the right. You need to look and see what's happening to my aileron to the right. You turn it to the left. What's happening to the left? You look on both sides. Okay, what's happening? Let's think about this. You turn it to the right should go up, the left should go down. Okay, why is that? You turn to the right, you're banking to the right. You're banking to the right, your right wing is going down. Why is it going down? The air is hitting the aileron, pushing it down. That's the way I think of it. What's really happening? High pressure system, low pressure system. Why is this one going down in a right bank? Well, the way I think of it, the wing is hitting it, pushing it up, right? The wind is going to hit this aileron and push it up. What's really happening? High pressure system, low pressure system. All right, turn the yoke to the left. Okay, yoke to the left. What should it be? Okay, left aileron is up. Good. Right aileron, down. Good. So, as you can see with our air molecules that we talked about before, right? Air molecules fly over here. This aileron is sticking up. Going to hit that aileron. Low pressure system below, high pressure system above. So that is how all of your control surfaces are going to work. It's the same principle as the air molecules going over the airfoil. So what's happening with the rest of this here? So that is our roll. We bank into a roll using our ailerons, using our yoke, okay? Next, we'll talk about our elevator here. Same principle though. It's a little different because, well, you'll see. So here's our elevator here. It's in the back, okay? So what's going to happen here? How do we work the elevator? It's with your yoke again. You're going to push and pull, push and pull. So I'm going to pull back on my yoke. What's going to happen? I pull back on my yoke and my elevator is going to go up. Okay, let's think about what happens when our elevator goes up. Elevator goes up. Pull back. Yep, it's going up. The wind is going to come over the wings, over the airplane. It's going to smack into that elevator that's sticking up. What's going to happen when the wind smacks into that elevator? It's going to push the tail down. Okay, tail went down. Tail did not go up. Tail went down. But what happens when the tail goes down? The nose goes up. So what's happening here? Same ideas. You have all these air molecules that are smacking into this thing, building up, creating a high pressure system because there's extra molecules. On the bottom side, however, you notice the air that's going underneath the plane, well, now there's all this extra space here. It's a low pressure system. So a couple things are happening. The high pressure is pushing down, the low pressure is sucking down like a vacuum, okay? Tail goes down, nose goes up. So when I pull back on the yoke, what should happen? I should look behind me and I should notice my elevator goes up. Well, is that a good thing? Yes. What happens when the elevator goes up? Tail goes down, nose goes up. Pretty simple. You just have to think about it for a second. Opposite happens. Push the yoke in, away from me. Push it down, right? Elevator goes down. Okay. What happens when this elevator goes down? Let's think about it, okay? We have air coming across here, right? Air is going to hit the bottom here where this elevator is down. And what's going to happen to it? It's going to push it up. What's really happening? You have the air here, like it's coming and having a little meeting behind this elevator. You have extra air molecules, so it's going to have really high pressure. And then up here, there's going to be a low pressure system because all of a sudden, everything just breaks off. There's nowhere to go. There's no more surface here. It just goes, ah! And you have this little gap of air here. So you have high pressure pushing up, low pressure sucking up, right? What happens? Tail goes up. But what happens when the tail goes up? The nose goes down. I push the yoke away from me. Elevator should go down, which should make the tail do what? Tail should go up. Nose should go down. Easy peasy. Okay, lastly, easiest of all is the rudder, at least my opinion. So here's our rudder. We're flying into the wind. So we're not talking about lift anymore. Everything else has had something to do with where you could imagine an airfoil and lift and things are changing. So this one's interesting. So let's say, as you know, first of all, you use your rudders. So these are my feet. I have my rudder pedals. Dancing on my rudder pedals. I'm going back and forth. I'm doing my pre-flight check. I'm doing my run-up. I'm checking to make sure all the controls are right. So I slam on the right rudder. Don't slam on it. You press on the right rudder. You look behind you. Your rudder should go to the right. Okay, so what's going to happen here? Well, the rudder goes to the right. Air's coming. Hits this rudder sticking out. What's going to happen? it's going to push the tail that way and the nose this way. So what's happening really? The tail is going to the left, but the nose is going to the right. Right? So I'm going to yaw to the right. Okay. So what's really happening? High pressure system. Wind is coming over here, but this is now turned over here. Low pressure system. So low pressure is going to suck. High pressure is going to push. You end up with this. You use right rudder. It turns to the right. You go to the right. Pretty easy. Obviously, left rudder is the exact same, but on the other direction. I press on my left rudder. I look behind me. My rudder should turn to the left. Okay, good deal. My air is going to come over the plane. It's going to hit this rudder on this side. It's going to push it. Okay, what's really happening? High pressure, low pressure. Just like that. Tail goes in the opposite direction, right? If it's the left rudder, the tail goes to the right. But then the nose goes to the left. So we have this here. So hopefully that all makes sense. It's pretty simple. So you bank, right, with your ailerons. It's called roll. You're going to roll like this. Watch the video on axes if you want to know more about all the axes. But you have your ailerons, and you're going to bank or roll into that. With your rudder, you're going to yaw with your rudder, okay? And with your elevator, you will pitch. So just think about what's going on and why they're going the direction they're going. The last thing I said I was going to touch on really quickly are our flaps, which are these marvelous, magnificent little things here. Flaps don't go up unless you're retracting them, then they just go into the plane. When they come down, they actually, not all flaps, different flaps do different things, but a lot of them will actually extend just a little bit, but they always go down, okay? So what's happening here? I don't know if you saw the video on the airfoil, but on here, the cord line, the thing called the cord line, goes from the leading edge of the wing, right here, okay, down to the trailing edge of the wing, the cord line. So if you have your airfoil, this is the cord line from tip to tip, okay? Now, all of a sudden you add a flap. Here's your flap. So your cord line now looks like this. There's another line called camber, which is going to kind of go like this. Camber has more to do with lift. The cord line has to do with a couple other things, but it is very important here. So, has to do with your angle of attack, which is very useful to know. Okay, so here we go. We now have our flaps down. So what's happening here? This was our cord line, but now this is our cord line. This was our cord line. Now this is our cord line. What has happened with our angle of attack? What is the angle of attack? It is the angle that the wings are attacking the wind. So before the angle of attack was pretty much straight, we were attacking the wind straight on. Now I'm not pitching anywhere right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my flaps down. As soon as I bring my flaps down, my cord line has changed. So what has happened to my angle of attack now? Well, I'm now attacking the wind at a different angle. Okay, so when you learn about angle of attack, and this may actually be a question in your test as well, it'll ask about flaps and angle of attack and cord lines and things like this. So that is why, this is what's happening. It goes from the leading edge to the trailing edge. That's your cord line. Well, as you notice, as soon as you add flaps, your cord line has now changed, so your angle of attack has now changed. So that is good to know. You are now attacking the air at a different angle. All right, so these are your control surfaces. Make sure to read Fact Chapter 6 if you want more details. There's a lot more stuff involved in that, but these are the basics, aerodynamics, of why your surfaces work the way they do. And when you do your pre-flight and your run-up for your flights, make sure when you're looking, you're not just saying, oh yeah, that should be right. Actually pay attention. When you look, the aileron should be going the correct direction. So hopefully that helps if you didn't understand it before.